In the world of hip-hop, loyalty is royalty, and Tupac's close friendship with Snoop seemed to have displayed these qualities. Their bond was so strong that it seemed unimaginable for the two to ever have a fallout. However, all this changed during Snoop's 1996 interview with Hot 97's Angie Martinez, which took place at the height of the East Coast-West Coast feud. When asked about his feelings towards Puffy and Biggie, Snoop recalls saying,
I said, I'm cool with him. I want to do some music with him. I want to work with him. Because I thought they was dope. I thought that they weren't competition, they were friends.
Tupac felt deeply hurt and conflicted by Snoop's response, especially since Pac was in the midst of a feud with Biggie and Puffy at the time. He felt betrayed by Snoop, who he had supported during his 1995 murder trial. This feeling was intensified by the fact that Biggie may have instigated the 1995 shooting of Snoop's trailer while Snoop and the Dogg Pound were in New York filming a music video for New York, New York. Biggie had called into Hot 97 informing everyone over the radio that Snoop and the Dogg Pound were in town shooting a video, emphasizing how Brooklyn was allowing them to disrespect New York and providing the location of the video shoot. Shortly after Biggie's announcement, Snoop's trailer was shot at multiple times. Gene Dale confirmed the incident on The Art of Dialogue, stating,
What I know is that he got on the radio because everybody was talking about it. He was saying like, yo, how y'all, and I don't think he even mentioned Snoop name. I think he just moved Pac and the Dogg Pound and all that was over there doing a video somewhere around Red Hook. But he was asking Brooklyn how they was gonna let that happen. How you gonna let them come disrespect, New York like that and everything? And then they van got shot up.
Tension between Pac and Snoop right after the Hot 97 interview was evident, as both were set to fly out of New York. In a 2013 interview with Sway in the Morning, Snoop explained that during the flight back to LA the following day, Suge didn't allow any of his security to ride with him, so he had to fly with Suge, his crew, and Pac, making it the most uncomfortable 5-hour flight of his life because Pac didn't say a word to him the entire time. When Snoop tried to talk to Tupac during the flight, Snoop said Pac brushed him off and turned away to speak to someone else, as he stated on Sway in the Morning.
So I walk up to him like maybe 3 hours into the flight, sit next to him, like, you going to Vegas, cuz? He turned on me like this and started talking to somebody else. So I'm like, all right. So I go in the back, put the blanket on my head, knife in my hand, fork in my hand, and just sleep the rest of the ride. Because I feel like they finna try to do something to me. Mm-hmm. So when I get off the plane, we land, he walk out. I got a Rolls Royce, he got a Rolls Royce. He walked down the steps, I walk down the steps. We meet right here. I'm like, cuz, you going to Vegas? He do me like this. Went his way and he went my way.
The Outlawz detailed the feud between Snoop and Pac during a 2017 interview with DJ Vlad, highlighting how deeply hurt Tupac was by the incident. In the interview, they recounted,
Pac was angry not only because they said, not just because of that interview. A couple weeks before that, people don't know that Pac and Snoop did songs dissing Biggie. I remember hearing it, you know what I mean?
Oh.
So Pac looking at it like, okay, you dissing songs with me, you riding on my enemies together, because Snoop got his trailer shot up one time, and when they came back from New York, they just started doing songs going at him. Pac was really mad, like, because Pac he's that type of, like Edie said, was Pac all in or he not in at all, you know what I mean? His loyalty, like if he was the type of person, if Snoop doing a song dissing somebody, Pac like, okay, you beefing with him, Snoop? I'm with him. Right. I'm with you on that.
Just over 24 hours after the interview, tragedy struck on the Las Vegas Strip. At approximately 11:15 on September 7, 1996, an unknown assailant fired 4 shots into a car carrying Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur at the intersection of East Flamingo Road and Koval Lane. While Suge survived the attack, Tupac sadly succumbed to his injuries 6 days later. It's a heartbreaking situation for these two legendary rappers, whose friendship began well before their time at Deathrow Records. Snoop first met Tupac at the rap party for the romantic drama Poetic Justice in 1993. Which starred Tupac and Janet Jackson. Despite having different personalities, both men got along exceptionally well. During a 1996 MTV special, Tupac described how he and Snoop were like two sides of the same coin. In his own words, Tupac described himself and Snoop as embodying the core of the entire ghetto. He represented the relentless, hardcore, no-holds-bar hustler, while Snoop embodied the calm, by-the-book, business-focused persona, together representing both sides of the game, the calm one and the relentless one. Over time, Pac and Snoop developed a deep respect for each other as artists and businessmen. In a 2018 episode of The View, Snoop shared a moment that highlighted his exceptionally close relationship with Tupac. During a difficult period with his girlfriend, while many friends advised him to stay single because he was Snoop Doggy Dogg and could have any woman he wanted, Tupac pulled him aside and said, "Forget what they're saying. That girl loves you. You need to marry her." Following Tupac's advice, Snoop married her, and they have been together for over 20 years. Tupac's loyalty to Snoop prompted him to fully stand by his friend during his 1995 murder trial, which stemmed from a 1993 incident where Snoop's bodyguard reportedly shot a rival gang member in self-defense. Snoop was eventually found not guilty of the charges. This wasn't the only instance where Tupac experienced betrayal from his close associates. On November 30th, 1994, while in the lobby of Quad Studios in New York City, Tupac was confronted by 3 armed assailants who robbed him of $40,000 and shot him 5 times in a brutal attack. Following the robbery, Tupac suspected that Biggie and Puff were somehow involved or had knowledge of the incident, as it took place in their hometown of New York. As Tupac expressed in a 1996 interview with Sway,
half the rappers from the East Coast was there when I got shot. Nobody knew a thing. That's just like you coming to the hood and the police ask them what happened, and everybody's like, I don't know. You know they lying. And all I was doing was like, give me my proper etiquette.
In the same interview, Tupac further explains that if Biggie were on the West Coast in the studio with him and got shot, he wouldn't tell Biggie who did it. But if Biggie wanted to know who did it, he would say, look man, these guys from Watts did it. This is why, and they want to talk to you. That's how he would handle it. Shortly after the incident, Tupac was charged and sentenced to 18 months to 4.5 years in prison for sexual abuse. While Pac was in prison, Biggie further enraged Tupac when he released Who Shot Ya on February 21st, 1995. The song appeared to allude to his shooting, which Pac took great offense to. During an interview on Drink Champs in 2020, Snoop also claimed responsibility for convincing Suge to get Pac out of prison and onto Deathrow Records. As he recounted,
I'm the reason why he was on Deathrow Records. He was my friend, and my thing was speaking with Suge, because after he had got shot, I had flew to New York like the next day, and it was like shit was going bad for him, and he had got locked up, and I was like, man, Suge, we need to put that nigga with us, cuz.
As history would have it, Tupac went on to sign with Deathrow Records for a 3-album deal in exchange for the label bailing him out of his $1.3 million bond. After being released from prison, Pac immediately began recording his album, All Eyes on Me, and the 2 artists collaborated on songs like 2 of America's Most Wanted and Wanted Dead or Alive. Tupac would also go on to record Hit 'Em Up, one of hip-hop's most brutal diss tracks aimed at his former friends turned rivals, Biggie and Puffy. Surprisingly, during an interview with Big Boy's Untold Stories, Snoop revealed that when Pac played the song for him, he wasn't fond of it, stating,
even when he played Hit 'Em Up the song, I didn't like the song. I didn't like it. I didn't like the shit. Like, it wasn't like the shit to me. Like, it was you buying more problems, cuz. Like, you're buying problems.
However, Snoop's demeanor was quite different when he found himself in a situation on the East Coast less than a year earlier. During the 1995 Source Awards, Snoop joined Dr. Dre on stage after Dre won Producer of the Year. Upset by earlier subliminal insults from Suge Knight during the event, the New York City audience reacted negatively towards the West Coast. As Dre started his acceptance speech, Snoop, wielding a baseball bat, grabbed the microphone and provoked the East Coast crowd.
The East Coast don't love Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. The East Coast ain't got no love for Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Death Row. Y'all don't love us. Y'all don't love us. Well, let it be known then.
Snoop, who bravely brandished a baseball bat on live TV in front of an enraged crowd, seemed to lack the same intensity when responding to Tupac's Hit 'Em Up. His reaction to Tupac's song suggested a reluctance, contrasting with the fiery display he had shown in New York City, when he had cautioned Tupac that his track was buying problems. Following Tupac's death, Snoop achieved great success and attained more fame than he had imagined. However, despite his numerous career accomplishments, Snoop might always be haunted by the lingering unresolved issues with Tupac. No amount of wealth can compensate for the fact that Snoop and Pac were not on good terms before Pac's untimely death.